Question: It was never the loneliest office in the world for you? President Bush: No, not for me. We had I had a fabulous team around me of highly dedicated, smart, capable people, and we had fun. I tell people that, some days happy, some days not so happy, every day has been joyous. And people, they say, I just don't believe it to be the case. Well, it is the case. Even in the darkest moments of Iraq, there was an every day when I was. Reading the reports about soldiers losing their lives, no question there was a lot of emotion. But also there was times where we could be lighthearted and support each other. And I built a team of really capable people who were there not to serve me. Or there to serve the Republicans, they were there to serve the country. And President-elect Obama will find, as he makes these tough calls and tough decisions. That he'll be supported by a lot of really good people that care about the country, as well. John. Question: You've talked a lot about your concerns over the rise of protectionism in the current. President Bush: Yes. Question: Economic environment. What do you think the future holds for that? Do you think the trend is a good one or a bad one? President Bush: I hope the trend is bad against protectionism. A disappointment, not a mistake, but a disappointment was not getting the 3 trade bills out of Congress on Colombia. Panama and South Korea. That was a disappointment. I actually thought we had a shot at one time. And then I was disappointed that they didn't move out of the house. And I am concerned about protectionism. In tough economic times, the temptation is to say, well, let's just throw up barriers and protect our own and not compete. That was the sentiment, by the way, that was in place during decent economic times. After all, we got CAFTA out of the Congress by 1 vote. And it would be a huge mistake if we become a protectionist nation. And that might be a good thing for the Bush Center to do at SMU, is to remind people about the benefits of free and fair trade benefits for our own workers, benefits for workers overseas. And benefits when it comes to promoting development and helping lift people out of poverty, in particularly, third world countries. The best way to enhance economic growth in a third world country and to give people a chance to realize a better future is through trade. It's been proven, it's a fact. And I'm hopeful that the country doesn't slip into protectionist policy. April, yes, ma'am. Question, thank you, Mr. President. President Bush, yes. You were sound asleep back there, so I decided. Question, no, I wasn't. there was a whole clear row before me. I thought you were going to go there. But either way, thanks for the surprise. Mr. President, on New Orleans, you basically talked about a moment ago about the photo opportunity. But let's talk about what you could have done to change the situation for the city of New Orleans to be further along in reconstruction than where it is now. And also, when you came or began to run for the Oval Office about 9 years ago or so. The James Byrd dragging death was residue on your campaign. And now at this time, 2009, we have the first black president. Could you tell us what you have seen on the issues of race, as you see it from the Oval Office? President Bush, sure, thanks. First of all, we did get the $121 billion, more or less, passed, and it's now being spent. Secondly, the school system is improving dramatically. Thirdly, people are beginning to move back into homes. This storm was a devastating storm, April, that required a lot of energy. A lot of focus and a lot of resources to get New Orleans up and running. And has the reconstruction been perfect? No. Have things happened fairly quickly? Absolutely. And is there more to be done? You bet there is. Question, what more needs to be done? President Bush, well, more people need to get in their houses. More people need to have their own home there. But the systems are in place to continue the reconstruction of New Orleans. People said, well, the federal response was slow. Don't tell me the federal response was slow when there was 30. People pulled off roofs right after the storm passed. I remember going to see those helicopter drivers, Coast Guard drivers. To thank them for their courageous efforts to rescue people off roofs. "30,000 people were pulled off roofs right after the storm moved through. It's a pretty quick response. Could things have been done better? Absolutely. Absolutely. But when I hear people say, the federal response was slow. Then what are they going to say to those chopper drivers, or the 30,000 that got pulled off the roofs? The other part of the look, I was affected by the TV after the elections when I saw people saying, I never thought I would see the day that a black person would be elected president. And a lot of the people had tears streaming down their cheeks when they said it. And so I am. I am consider myself fortunate to have a front row seat. On what is going to be an historic moment for the country. President-elect Obama's election does speak volumes about how far this country has come when it comes to racial relations. But there's still work to do. There's always going to be work to do to deal with people's hearts. And so I'm looking forward to it, really am. I think it's going to be an amazing moment. Michael Allen. Yes, Michael Allen. Question, Mr. President, President Bush, who would be you? QMR. President, often presidents go leave here, they say they're going to decompress. And then pretty soon they're right back in their office. I wonder how quickly you think you're going to be back at it? Whether it's writing your book, whether it's speaking, whether it's traveling, whether it's President Bush, you know, Mike, I don't know. Probably the next day. I'm a type A personality, you know, I just can't envision myself. You know, the big straw hat and Hawaiian shirt sitting on some beach. Question, no one else can, either. President Bush, so particularly since I quit drinking. Anyway, so I predict to you that first of all, I'm not sure what to expect. For the last 8 years I've had a national security briefing every day but Sunday. And when you get a national security briefing, it is a reminder of the responsibilities of the job. It's just a daily reminder about what may or may not happen. The interesting thing about this job, by the way, is it's one thing to deal with the expected. What you anticipate, the real challenge is to be in a position to deal with the unexpected. And that's why those intel briefings are so important. Because there's an awareness in the briefings by the analyst to try to help anticipate problems. And of course you hope they don't arise, but you better be prepared when they do. And that in itself creates gets your attention, when you start thinking about what could happen. And the key there, of course, is that to take these different analyses seriously. And then have a structure so that your team will be in a position to analyze and then lay out potential avenues for the president from which the president can choose. I say all that because this has been this notion about being briefed and thinking about this issue or that issue has been just a part of my life for 8 years. People say, well, there you are in Crawford on vacation. You never escape the presidency. It travels with you everywhere you go. And there's not a moment where you don't think about being president unless you're riding mountain bikes as hard as you possibly can, trying to forget for the moment. And so I wake up in Crawford Wednesday morning. And I suspect I'll make Laura coffee and go get it for her. And it's going to be a different feeling. And I can't. It's kind of like I'll report back after I feel it. Last question. And since you've been there from day one. Question, thank you, and I wanted to ask you about day one. You arrived here wanting to be a uniter, not a divider. Do you think Barack Obama can be a uniter, not a divider? Or is with the challenges for any president and the unpopular decisions? Is it impossible for any president to be uniter, not a divider?